retired from the military on the 1st of March. After 23 years, I'm actually from the South Side, so don't beat me up too bad. But born and raised on the South Side. I joined the military in 1999. Right? I've been gone ever since. I did 3 tours. Went overseas. I lived in Europe for just about 8 years. And in the military, I was a truck driver and I was human resource. I really didn't do a lot of things. I did stuff, Secret Service, all of that stuff, right? But a friend introduced me to insurance about in 2019. I was just sitting at home and I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? When I get out, when I grow up and come back in the community, because I came back home and I realized either my friends were either gone or things didn't change. And then plus myself, I've evolved as a person too, right? So a friend introduced me to it and I kind of fell in love with it. But one of the things that happened with me was I had a son, Cameron, my youngest son, and he had Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is something, it's like an attack on your blood cells, your white blood cells, and he was paralyzed. And in the military, they pay the bills, right? But they don't take care of the bills when you get home. So I was married at the time. The former wife at the time, she had to stay home, and no daycare would take my son, nothing like that, and I didn't know what to do. So when I got into insurance, then I learned about something called living benefits, and basically that's something that could have helped me at the time financially, and also him because he's 10 years old right now. This happened when he was a year and a half. And he's good now. He looked like a normal kid, but he don't have the strength. He don't have all of those things. He had 2 shots to his spinal cord. It was $50,000 per shot. So the military paid the bulk of the bill, but I had to go out and do what I do from Chicago and hustle a little bit to do what I need to do to take care of him. Right. So with that, now my goal is to tell people about what insurance can do. It ain't about dying. It is, but it's bigger than that, right? It's bigger than, like I want to retire 3 times, right? I got 1 retirement, but now I figured out like, okay, I wish somebody would have told me if I put my money into insurance policy the right way, then I could retire again, right? And then whatever other benefits come to me. So that's the biggest things I want to get out to everybody. And tell them about it. I'm licensed in just about 22 states. I got a chance to partner with Ms. Antoinette Rogers, which is also family, and we reconnected just about 3 years ago. We never met before, right? So that was a blessing. And I said, hey, why don't we come work together? So whatever, that's what family do. We come together, we help each other. So a lot of individuals that can't get insurance, that maybe high blood pressure, diabetes, whatever, you name it, I can help. I'm going to find a solution, right? So I had a solution to just about that. The only thing we got to do is make sure that people get the information. That's the biggest thing. So with that, thanks, Antoinette. We stood up the business mixer, which is something that's growing, where we want to bring the community closer. We got creatives Scott here, right? And all of you that's here, and this is just going to continue to grow and do a lot of good things. So that's what we want to do, is kind of unite everybody. Not just on the west side, south side, east side, where we take care of little small steps and then bring everybody together. So that's my piece. All right, just want to share that.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming out. My name is Antoinette Rogers. I'm the host here. Country Financial. We do auto, home, life, and business insurance, as well as retirement planning. Thanks so much for coming. We host a monthly networking meeting every 3rd Friday of the month. So this is something new. This is our 2nd time. So thanks so much for coming out. We have a special guest presenter today. So that's why you guys see all the cameras and nice presentation set up. So we have some great information today for you guys. Another upcoming event I'm having is Monday. We're doing a back to school ice cream social. So if you have kids or that's going to be starting school, I know some kids started this week, But we will be giving out ice cream, so after school, feel free to stop in and get your kids some ice cream. It's going to be here. We're going to have some school supplies too that day, just, you know, to give out. We like to do things in the community. I also want to thank Creative Scott. He's one of my favorite people in the North Lawndale area. He's been here a lot longer than me. He does a lot in the community as well with public safety. Did you want to say something now? I know you're eating. You can always come up later. Okay, perfect. But other than that, we have food, drinks. We're going to go ahead and get started. And I just want to introduce our guest speaker today.
Hello, everybody. I'm Carlos Robles Shanahan. This is my brother, Rafael Robles. We are both the founders and directors of Duo Development. So we're here to share a little bit about who we are, what we do, our past development in North Lawndale. But mainly, really, want to invite you to invest in this building that we're going to be talking about. It's a pretty new way of doing things as far as real estate development that we'll get into the details, but long story short is that we had the opportunity to build a building, and before we do that, we want to make sure that that building is also owned in part by people from the neighborhood, right? So that if the building makes any money, that you're able to get some of that money back because of that initial investment. So that's what we're going to be sharing about today, and really excited that you're here. So we're going to get started. So first we'll talk about the building, about what it is, and then we'll get into how you can invest and join us in this.
Yeah. I know this doesn't amplify my voice, so I'm going to be loud, but let me know if you can't hear me. So the building's on 16th and Sawyer, on the intersection of 16th and Sawyer on the southwest corner lot. It's an empty lot. All those 4 lots are empty right now. Carlos and I had the opportunity to start working in North Lawndale back in 2018 actually, with the Quality of Life Plan. I don't know if y'all remember, there was a lot of meetings happening. There was a big meeting at the cinema that now is closed. But at the time, there were a lot of organizations in the city and state trying to figure out sort of what residents of North Lawndale wanted on 16th Street. We met Creative at that time, and we talked to a lot of the business owners and residents of and around 16th Street. And one of the big things that people surfaced was that, 16th Street, as you know, used to be a big commercial corridor that over time, the riots, things like that, other policies that were put in place by the city, all that disinvestment caused 16th Street to be what it is today. But it used to be thriving. And so we saw this lot that was on sale on 16th Street. It's close to the very east side to Douglas Park. And we felt like it was a good opportunity to do good on the vision that a lot of the residents and business owners of 16th Street had shared, that they wanted it to sort of be back to be a commercial corridor. This lot used to be a few sort of smaller businesses. There was a laundromat, there was a corner store, and to the extent of our knowledge, a car hit the building, and then the owner of the building didn't want to repair it, and so they tore it down. And so those businesses were gone. That building structure was gone, and it's an empty lot, right? And so now what we want to do is bring that lot, back to life. And the way that we're doing it is in small steps. So the building that we're planning on building is what you see images for on the posters. This building we're calling Starling. If you're not familiar with starlings, why the name? Starlings are birds that make this really beautiful, what they call murmurations. They're like big shapes that look kind of like aliens. They fly together. But the nice thing about these birds is that they have no leader. They're a leaderless pack, and they follow their 7 closest neighbors to do these, beautiful shapes. And so we felt that because we wanted to do this in a very resident-oriented way, the name was appropriate. So Starling is going to be a commercial building. We want it to be a neighborhood amenity where full-time there will be a coffee service run by Monday Coffee Company. Monday Coffee Company is a black-owned business that has as its mission to decolonize coffee. So a lot of you, it's unfortunate fun facts all over the place, but coffee is one of the main reasons why European colonizers came to the Americas. And so Monday Coffee Company, responding to that, want to sort of decolonize it, take ownership of it, and then share really interesting drinks with everybody. They're really good. If you've been to the Garfield Conservatory, they've done a pop-up there, they've done a pop-up in Soho House, different places, they're really good. So they will be leasing the cafe component of the space, but the rest of the building, there will be a library, there will be a working area, kind of workshop for everybody, there will be a sound booth, and there will be a small office. And so we're hoping, and as you can see, there's a lot of terraces and there's an outdoor garden too. The garden is not going to be a fruit garden, it's going to be sort of like a, in part, sort of like a play space for children, but to hang out, you know. So one of the ways in which we're thinking of activating this space, a lot of the residents in North Lawndale, entrepreneurs, have said that there's not a lot of interest in signing on to a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease. You know, somebody starting a new business is kind of wants to test the waters before they commit to a full establishment. And so what we're going to do with all the spaces, the library, the working area, the sound booth, the outdoor spaces, is rent them by the hour. So we do we're going to do a flexible model for rent so that if somebody wants to provide a service on a weekend or as part of the week, they can lease the space for that short period of time, but not be committed to like a 3-year lease or anything like that.
So a pop-up, you said pop-up.
Kind of like a pop-up, yeah. Very similar to a pop-up. And so,
I forgot. Oh,
yeah.
but were you gonna make it affordable for people in the neighborhood that wanted to do something?
Yeah. Are you all familiar with like Airbnb?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a online platform similar to Airbnb, but it's called Peerspace, and there's a few other ones. But it's basically, instead of renting houses, you're renting commercial spaces. It started because a lot of photographers wanted to rent like cool spots to take photos, videos. And so that's how they started, but now it's sort of for everybody, right? If you're a part of an organization that wants to hold a meeting and you might not have the space for it, you can rent there. If you want to host a baby shower, if you want to host a birthday party, you know, wedding reception, you can rent the space. And so we're going to have kind of like flexible ways for this space to be rented affordably. And so we're making sure that from those platforms, this will be the most affordable in the city.
Okay, so what about people that live around in the community? Would they get a better discount?
That's a great question. So, short answer, yes and no. Kind of, yes.
That's what we want to hear, yes?
Yes, and. So yes, the people that live around the building will get a discount. So part of what we're doing, is anybody very familiar with real estate development, like building buildings, kind of?
Kind of.
Okay. So building buildings can be very mysterious, right? You're just kind of going about your day, and all of a sudden there's a new building in your neighborhood that pops up.
Right.
And everybody's like, who did that? Probably the city was involved. Some other people were involved. You see logos of banks and logos of developers and corporations. And so part of what we want to do since 2019 is we started putting together a real estate development class just to teach people how real estate development works, demystify it, show you that it's not that difficult, but nobody teaches you, right? So that's difficult. Everything's hard if nobody teaches you. And so part of what we want to do with this building is set a new example for how developers could practice real estate development in a more ethical, more community-oriented way. Yes, sir.
What stage are y'all in right now?
Yeah. So right now, we have just finished working with the architects on the design of the building. Basically, we have what they call permit-ready drawings. So the permit-ready drawings is the drawings of the building. You're going to go to the city to get the construction permits, and then we expect to break ground early in the year. We probably won't break ground this year because of the winter, but it depends. We could. It's just a matter of like literally the ground not freezing. If we can beat that clock, then we'll break ground this year. If not, we will break ground as soon as the ground, is soft enough to thaws out. And so,
Finish.
oh yeah, for the discount. So part of what we want to do here is offer. It's like you heard a lot in development, right? Like community involvement, community input, and all those things. Those are great things, and we want to do that. But we felt that we could go further than that and offer community ownership, actual dollar ownership. And so what we want to do with this project is open the opportunity for investment for any person, especially the people that live in the neighborhood, so that you are a financial equity owner of the building. Okay? So what that means is that every building leases its space, right? And so at the end of the year, there's usually profits or there's losses. So if a lot of people lease the space, there's going to be a profit. If nobody leases the space, there's going to be losses, right? But if you're an owner, if there is a profit, part of that profit will be distributed to you as an owner of the building. So for the people that invest, it's a very long-winded answer to the question, the people that invest, we want to give them special rates to use the building for the rental, discounted rates for the rental. Everything in real estate development is a decision. So there is nothing to say that if a lot of people who live right around that building, they use it a lot, we can give them discounts too on the rental rates.
So what will be the demographics of the people that live around there? I mean,
So, well, one thing before I answer that question, the exciting part of the who can be an owner is you can own a share of the building, so to speak, for $100, starting at $100. And the other exciting part is that for the first 50, we're trying to raise $100,000 from neighbors, but for the first $50,000, the Chicago Community Trust is matching dollar for dollar those first $50,000 for people that live in North Lawndale. So if you put in $100, that means that you immediately are doubling your investment. So.
And when the stock split, I also double my money if it did.
So if things go well and make money, yeah. So we have that's actually getting into the details of like the investment, but so we can talk about what we're expecting there.
Does anybody have questions on the building?
Yeah, any questions about the building and what it's gonna do, how it runs? Yeah.
How much is the building gonna cost?
The total
amount.
total
And
development.
what's the time limit on, the return to building, when y'all can be able to, have the building up and running?
So the total development cost is going to be about 1.2 million. We have gotten about $600,000 in like committed as grants from the city. So we're looking at to get a loan for about the other 600,000. So that's again if we start construction, depending on when we start construction, it's either this fall or like in the spring, right? Depending on the weather and the bank. But then it's going to take about 4 to 6 months to build the building because again it's pretty small and the inside doesn't have too many structures. It's open floor. That's also by design so that it could get built quick. So then it would be up and running for another year, and then that's when you would see your first return. So if everything, let's call it, goes slow, you would get your first check would be on 2025. Summer of 2025-ish. Yeah.
Things go fast, you might see it at the end of 2024 or early 2025.
So you'll start seeing some returns at that point. So that's a really, really good question because we are asking for you to put in an investment of at least $100 now so that we can kind of move the project forward, but then you wouldn't see your first return until about 2 years from now, basically. And then every year you would see that you would see that return.
So when we go ahead.
So just so the 600,000 grants that you get from the city can't be used until the $600,000 is used from you guys first. So it's more so like a reimbursement. The grants that the city give are always reimbursements to what you spend.
Yeah. So the loan that we're getting is they're calling a bridge loan. So they know that they're gonna like lend us the money, and then we are gonna basically draw from that loan and then like pay back the city. So the loan still will be about 600,000, but like knowing that the grants are there. So the NOF now is gonna go on an escrow account, not just reimbursable, but then the other one we got, the equitable transit oriented, that one is reimbursable. So that one's gonna be a bit of like a dance with the bank and the grants, but
Reimbursable means that you have to spend the money first and then they give you the money back. So
Because they want to make sure that
yeah.
the city just doesn't give money. They want to make sure that your project is funded and you can support the project.
Yeah.
So they give you the grant in good faith that you're gonna actually go through with your project.
right. Yeah. So that's part of what we're gonna be doing. So more on the return on the investment, and it's first basically we ask for at least $100 minimum investment. You can invest as much as you want.
For the total.
of of the $100,000 that there are to share, there you can buy more than $100, of course. If you live in Orlando, you're getting that dollar amount matched. If you're looking for a match, we're only matching up to $5,000 because we don't want to like just match one person. And then we are targeting a 10% return on that initial investment. So if you put in, let's say, $1,000, you give us your $1,000, and then it's basically going to be locked in for 5 years. That's what we're asking for. And then our expectation is to double your money in those 5 years. So how that's going to happen is basically you do the initial $1,000 today. Then when the building starts operating, in that case, you would get $100 that year, then another $100 a year after for 5 years, so $500. And then at year 5, we would say, do you want to remain getting that 10% return each year, or would you like to basically cash out? If you choose to cash out, then we would give you another like $500 to kind of make you whole to double that amount. So if you started with $1,000, then at year 5 you will get $2,000, and that's kind of the part of the investment. It's in 5 years we're doubling it, and that's pretty typical. And we are that's it. Any questions about that? I like to just.
And you got it bonded and insured?
What's that?
Bonded.
Bonded and insured.
Yeah.
We'll have all the proper insurances that needs to happen. Yeah, and then part of it is like the requirements from the city that everybody's got to be insured, bonded, and all good. Yeah.
I would say, like, just in terms of, obviously, every investment involves a level of risk. So we always tell people, you should not invest the money that you need to live day to day. If you have money available on top of that you feel like you could put away, then you should, it's wise to invest that money in something, right? It doesn't have to be this, but that's the type of money that you want to consider making investments. And that's just a general rule for anybody looking to invest in anything. It could be the stock market, it could be a friend's business, it could be a building. Generally we just, again, the worst that can happen, so the types of shares that you will own are non-voting and also non-responsibility. So that means that you are not responsible if the roof leaks, you will not get asked for more money, you are not that type of owner. The only people responsible for those types of fixes are us, right, the development team. And
the loans.
And the loans is just the development team. The worst that can happen in terms of your investment is that you lose the initial amount that you invested. That's true for any investment, whether it's a stock market, a building, or a business.
Do you have a sheet so you can see what it's supposed to look like? What exactly it
we're gonna
is?
give you all a flyer at the end, so you can have that to look at home.
Yeah.
So who's your builder?
Our builder is called VMR Construction. They're a builder that is coming up. They've been doing more like new construction. They started doing a lot of remodeling projects. VMR is like the R is remodeling, but now they don't do remodeling, so they're just calling themselves VMR. And they will be the ones building the building.
So I just want to make sure, for open conversation, that we make sure that the people that live in the community and the surrounding area, so it would be great, the guys that hang right there on Holman, that they are participatory with building the building, because then, even if they can't afford to buy into your, the investment opportunity, but when you have people from the community helping, it gives them a vested interest, and it protects what we are trying to do in the community. So that's important for me, that you make sure that, and if that's something that I can be added on for the hiring process, but we have to make sure that we hire from right there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We are, VMR is the general contractor, so we'll definitely, we have already told him, for his subcontracts, to be looking for people around the neighborhood.
So one of the things that we actually need help with too, partly that, is, the development, like running a business like any business, right? Like you're doing kind of like, you're putting the pieces of the puzzle together. But we will leave you with our contact information so that if you do know somebody or an organization that can help to help us find the right people in the neighborhood to apply for jobs or do the work here.
North Lawndale Employment Network,
Yeah. Perfect. We'll work with them.
right on home.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing, that's the building right there,
Yeah.
the complete version. How many jobs would probably be available for the community also, and how many storefronts? You say you all people from the community, not the community, but who want to rent a storefront? How many storefronts would be available, and would it be affordable?
Yeah, so there will be only one sort of like traditional tenant, which is the cafe business.
Okay.
Monday Coffee, I think they've said they're going to staff around 3 or 4 people
From the neighborhood.
from the neighborhood. And then the rest of the space, we're still looking to see, because this flexible rental model, to be honest, we don't know how many people it might take to staff. We expect at least one person that is there at the building, maybe like every day or a big part of the week. And then maybe another person that is more in charge of like helping to organize events for the people that lease the storefront space. So the storefront space, there's going to be two sort of like indoor areas. I guess like 3 versions of the indoor. You could rent like either of the 2 halves or the whole indoor for an event for as many hours as you want. There will be a sound booth that will be available for rent by the hour. And then the outdoor spaces, you see there's like 3 little kind of like outdoor plazas. Those will be available for rent too. And we don't know the final amount for the rent, but we're making sure that those spaces, again, comparing it to those sites like Pier Space, is the most affordable in the city. So you're gonna have like, part of the reason why that's nice is that it's gonna be a brand new building with really affordable kind of hourly rates to rent. And so part of it too will be kind of like editing as we go. Like if a lot of the neighborhood entrepreneurs say like, hey, I would rent this, but it's a little too expensive, then we're going to modify those rates. And again, the people that invest will get even further discounted rates. It doesn't matter how much money you invest. If it's $100, as long as you're part owner, you'll for sure get discounted rates. And then from there, we're going to see how many people like sort of surrounding and how far, if they want to rent it for something like baby showers, weddings. Those are some of the things that we've heard from the neighbors that they want space for, that they currently don't really have a place indoors to go to rent necessarily. We'll make sure it's available.
There are a lot of nonprofits in the room and nonprofits in this area in the city, right?
Yeah.
Is there something that could be dedicated for within the building, say, hey, this is the one, we had an investment for allow people to get in. But could it be considered for some portion of that building to be for nonprofits to help them get off the ground too?
Yeah.
Has that been considered?
Yeah, I mean, when we say like entrepreneurs, we include the nonprofits in that. So there's a lot of nonprofits actually that are run in the city, not just North London, but that are run by small teams. It's like 1 person, 2 people, maybe teams of 5. So they definitely will be one of the sort of like audiences for providing kind of these rental rates. And what we really want to see, so we've heard a lot from neighbors in the spirit of there being a lot of nonprofits. There's a lot of nonprofits, but sometimes there's not a lot of space to just go and hang out and just bring a friend and have a coffee and have a conversation. So most of what we want this building to be with the cafe component of the garden is you can just come hang out, walk there in the mornings, get a coffee or not get a coffee, just sit down, do some homework. We're right next to a high school. If you're a teacher, everybody to just kind of have that as a space available. We're going to have it open during extended hours, so probably close at like 9 or 10 every night, so that especially youth, elders, seniors, teachers, whoever can come kind of like after work and just hang out. And so the nonprofits, part of what we're really hoping is that the more that it's used, every time you go, there's going to be something new happening there. So instead of it being kind of more traditional, like 4 stores that are always the same, we're hoping that different types of organizations, different entrepreneurs rent the spaces different days. And so when you go, there's like one day there's somebody selling merch, another day somebody's selling food, another day somebody's running legal services,
So this kind of like an incubator or something?
It's, kind
okay.
It's kind of like an incubator, different from an incubator because incubators have those businesses there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I should say it's not an incubator, but it's a space, it's definitely a new model, so bear with us, because it's kind of like an incubator. If you come up with a fun word for it, we'll call it that. But there will the only business that will be there every time you go there is Monday Coffee Company, and they will run the cafe. And we just did that intentionally because we want to make sure that when you go, something is always there. It's not just like an empty building. But the rest of the spaces, you know, there might be nothing going on, in which case you can just sit down, read a book, blah, blah, blah. Or there might be programming, again, from nonprofit, a financial literacy class, you know, chess night, board game night, you know, all these kinds of things. We're going to make sure the furniture in there is movable and accessible and all that stuff.
Good questions.
Yeah.
Any other
Good
questions?
ideas. All right, so what I will say is the process of designing and building the building is the most kind of like rigid at this stage. So we have permit ready drawings, so those will go to the city, we'll get our construction permits, and then they will give us permission to build that building, right? The piece around like what kind of events should happen in there, how much the rental rate is, kind of we call that the experience of the building, that is very flexible. So we're going to leave you with our contact information, and if you have ideas or things that you're like, I will never go to that cafe if it doesn't offer this, we will take all of those ideas, because we've been working in North Lawndale since 2019, so part of working with the community is to make the space something that you would actually enjoy going to, not just like a foreign Starbucks that just shows up, you know. And so the more that you use it, the more excited that you are, the more useful it is to you, the better it is for everybody. And again, extending the opportunity, if you choose to invest, if you're able to invest, then the more that it's used, the more profit that the neighbors will receive. And then finally, to echo Alderwoman Monique, if you are not able to invest, but are interested in getting involved in some capacity, please let us know, because we can't read your mind. If you have a hard skill, if you're really good with wood construction, plumbing, if you're good with people, like there might be opportunities for us to hire you to work with us as part of the process of building the building in the next, year and a half. So, and that could be you, that could be someone you know. We really want to work with youth too, so if you know somebody who's younger, who's interested, let us know. Cedric?
Are you gonna have like you probably answered it, it's just in my head, kind of like a sign-up list of individuals that come in. And the biggest thing that I've learned in the last 7 days is individuals that have businesses in this area, to make sure that there's money, individuals that invest but come in and rent a portion of that it can be individuals that the money is here in the neighborhood, right? So is there kind of like a sign up to ensure that that's a priority? Because people may not say it, but I'm going to just put it out there to make sure the money's here. So I live in Elgin, right? And I drive here, my whole entire family. So if I come from Elgin and say, hey, I'm going to do this and then go back home, that's the biggest thing. So will it be a priority to have individuals from the area first to make sure that the money's here?
Yeah, so the way that we're prioritizing that, so the way that you invest the money, you can't give us $100 in cash or $1,000 in cash, right? You have to do it through a platform called wefunder.com. We'll share the link with everybody. This digital platform is a website. It's regulated by the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, right? So your money is safe and regulated. And so this website, anybody can go on the website and make an investment. You can't stop anybody. We're not going to stop anybody. What we're prioritizing is marketing to the neighborhood, right? So that all of you hopefully are interested, right? And if you can invest, you invest. If you can't invest, at least maybe you know somebody who might be interested. And so that's part of the way that we're prioritizing the investment opportunity being open to the neighborhood.
And an investment just to make sure everybody can invest, right? To get this off the ground.
And
on the business side, just making sure those that come in.
Let me.
Right.
So this this thing is something like that's really exciting to us, and like that anybody can invest. So this is, to get a little nerdy on like why it's called regulation crowdfunding. It's basically a public offering of investments. Typically, real estate development, you can only do private offerings. So private offerings means you have to be an accredited investor. To be an accredited investor means you have to make over $250,000 a year or have $1 million worth of assets, like net, right? Not in debt. So obviously that leaves out of investment opportunities literally most of the population, right? So about 8-10 years ago, this regulation crowdfunding started to get some legs, and WeFunder was the first site that started doing it, but it was mainly for like businesses. So you would see a lot for like breweries or like gadgets, things like that. So the format is very similar to like GoFundMe, Kickstarter, that kind of thing. But the big difference is that this is an actual equity investment.
Okay.
So that is like really exciting for real estate development, because like even for us as acting as a developers in this situation, right? We can approach people that we have just met today, like today, and we're not asking for like, hey, you want to give me $100 in cash, because that's not going to happen, right? But we have this platform where you can think about it, you have our information, and you can make the decision yourself. So that is something that we are also trying to prove out for real estate, so that future developers you can ask the question, how come you're not doing a regulation crowdfunding campaign, right? Like, why are you not doing that? So, like the duo guys. So that's part of also what makes this really exciting, and part of why also to make this work, we do need your support, and we're asking for, you know, at least 100 is the minimum.
Is there a cap on how many people or how many investors you gonna be using or needing?
That is, we're gonna use the 100,000 that we are hoping to raise.
So that's a cap, is $100,000, but not a cap on the amount of investors. So I guess
If you get, let's say, 1,000 investors,
of $100, yeah.
let's say with $1,000,
Yeah.
okay, would they be able, you said they cap is only the double their money?
For the
After a
first,
certain period of time.
First $50,000 raised, yeah.
for those first 50,000, they would get it doubled.
So right now
That's
we,
it, that's all?
The match, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first, because we only have 50,000 for matching. So of those 100,000, of those 100 investors you said, the first 50 would get matched. The other 50 we can look for more funding to match it, but as of right now, only the first 50 would
So it's
get.
only like a 10% increase.
Their 10% would increase. That's a good example, right? So if they invest 1,000, then they technically have 2,000. So each year they wouldn't get 100. Each year they would get 200, and then so that's the exciting part of the match. That you're basically guaranteeing your return and you're increasing your annual dividends.
and that we always say, like, there's no such thing as free money. This is the closest thing to free money that we've ever seen.
How many shares can one person purchase?
Yeah, so each share is $100. That's a minimum investment. There is no limit on the amount of shares, but we are only fundraising $100,000.
Okay.
So there is a limit, but if you want to, we've had the biggest investment so far has been $5,000, and the lowest has been $100.
And 5,000 is the limit for matching.
Yeah.
You can do 10,000, but we would only do like match you the 5 basically.
It sounds like you all are gonna need the media to get the word out about what you're doing. So
Yes, ma'am.
make sure you consider us to come in and help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're really passionate about this because this is, to somebody who's outside of the real estate industry, you're like, okay, you're building a building, but because we're in it, to Carlos's point, this is a new way to build buildings, giving local residents actual ownership, financial stake on the project. There is a world where everybody talks about, we want community empowerment, and that is great. There are many ways to do that. This is one more way. It's not the better way, it's just one more way to empower the community for those residents who are able at the time to invest in a project like this. Then you should be able to. It would be really, really cool if you owned a little bit of a few places in your neighborhood, right? Your favorite coffee shop, your favorite barber shop, your favorite, hospital, dentist, like all these places, there is no reason, because now it's legal to do so, that those developers can't open a campaign similar to this. And so we just want to show that it's possible, show that people are interested, show that people can invest, and that you're as passionate about it as we are. And once we do it, the building is built, then hopefully, again, we've been given real estate classes. Our dream is that then we can teach people in the neighborhood how we built this building so they can build a building of their own. And then if few people in the neighborhood are building buildings on their own, then you won't rely on one single developer to do everything, right? And so we want to distribute all of this power, wealth, opportunity, and all those things. And we need your help. So thank you. We'll be here for a while. There's a lot of food. There's pot in the fridge. There's water, and we will share flyers with you where you can go to these websites. But we will also hang out here, and if anybody is like, I'll just invest right now, what you do need to invest is a bank account. So it will in an email. So they will ask you for an email account, like many places, and then a bank account that you can link your investment from. So you will never give us money. You should never give people, there should be some intermediate, okay? So thank you for your time, and again, we'll be here with questions.
And please be sure to sign up so we can follow up too on the sign up sheet. We'll email you all updates and things like that.
Okay.
Make sure you guys sign in on the sign-in sheet. Unfortunately, my printer is acting up, so I can't print out the flyers. I still apologize. But make sure on the sign-in sheet you leave your email address. I will personally be emailing you guys the flyer that they're referring to, okay? That way it's for yourself, and then you will be able to share with your network. One reason that I have this networking event is because your network is your network. So you want to make sure that you connect with everyone if you get a chance. We're still here, even though they're done with their presentation. Feel free to ask them questions. They have pictures of the building on these signs over here, and I'm pretty sure they can show you any other information. But also, just make sure you introduce yourself to the next person in the room, because you never know who you can meet. And I just always push that, because that's, like, I'm a small business in the neighborhood. I was just telling them I've been here for about 12 years, and just meeting different people, that's how we, create generational wealth for our families. So I just encourage you guys to make sure you network, pass out your business cards and information. Thanks so much for coming. If you guys have any questions, let me know, as well as our guest speaker.